Now, I'm sure you guys have seen or heard of pork belly lollipops. Now, they are good, but I think there's a meat lollipop that's even better. So stick around because in this video, we're going to be making some boneless beef rib lollipops. So we're going to get started by setting our smoker up. So I'm just going to open our lid. We'll take our cooking grate off. We'll remove our heat deflector. Then we'll fill our charcoal basket with either lumped charcoal or briquettes. Then we'll bury a fire lighter in there and light it up. Right, so here we have our beautiful rack of beef ribs. We've got some awesome marbling in this one. We've got 3 bones in this rack. And before we bone this out to roll it, we just want to take this silver skin and fat off the top. All right, so using a nice sharp knife, we're just gonna get our knife under there and we're just gonna start in one corner. And we're just gonna, like I said, take this silver skin and fat off the top. I usually leave my beef ribs untrimmed lately, but because I don't want any of this silver skin or fat to end up on the inside when we roll it, we're going to trim it all off. And take your time when you're trimming. You always want to be trying to make sure you're cutting away from you as well. That will lessen the risk of you cutting yourself. And always try and use a good quality sharp knife as well. If you're using a blunt or cheap knife, you're going to have to use more force to get through whatever you're trimming. And again, that'll increase the risk of you slipping and cutting yourself. All right, so now we've trimmed all the fat and silver skin off the top. We are just going to go hard up against the bone and we're going to debone this rack of beef ribs. All right, and then these leftover bones, you could smoke them up separately if you want. They won't take long, but what I'll do is I'm going to slice them up and then I'll use them to make a stock later on. And now we're left with our meat. We just want to trim the silver skin off this bottom side as well. And any off trim you can trim a little bit further. You want to be working with around an 80% lean meat to 20% fat ratio, and that will make some great burger mince. All right, now we're left with just the meat. We can get these down, roll them up, and start making our lollipops. So we're just going to roll it nice and tight. And then we're going to find our end. We're going to get a skewer, go around 1/2 inch up from the end, and poke our skewer through. And then I reckon we're going to get around 4 lollipops out of this one. So just like so. And then we want to slice in between each skewer. And there we have a beautiful boneless beef rib lollipop. So you can use any of your favorite barbecue seasonings for these beef rib lollipops, but what we want to do first is just give them a nice light coat in some olive oil, and that'll help our rubs stick to the meat. All right, now I'm going to season these up with my steak shooter and beef bounce because that is my favorite combination for beef. And because steak shooter is a finer rub, I'm going to go down with that first. And then we'll top off with beef bounce. And you really want to make sure you're getting all sides. We want to maximize the flavor on these beef rib lollipops. And then I'm just going to mop up any rub I've got left on the cutting board. And now these are ready to go once our smoke is ready, which is what I'm going to check on now. So as you can see, our briquettes have caught light and are burning nicely. So now we can shut our lid, and then we want to make sure both of our vents are wide open so we can start bringing this barbecue up to temperature. And after about 10 minutes, we're just below where we want to be, which for this cook is going to be around 250 Fahrenheit or 120 Celsius. We will open our lid. We'll get a nice chunk of cherry straight on where the fire is burning. And then we will get our heat deflector back in, and then our cooking grate, and then our beautiful beef rib lollipops. And now we'll shut our lid, and then once our temperature recovers, I'm going to shut our intake vent down to around there. I'm going to leave our top vent open for the whole cook. Then I'll give our smoker around 10 minutes to see where it stabilizes off at. And if I need to increase temperature, I'll open it up a little bit. If I need to decrease, then I'll shut it down a bit. The beauty about drum smokers is they are super easy when it comes to fire management, but for now, I'm going to leave that vent wide open until our temperature recovers. Now, because we've taken the bones out and sliced our beef ribs into 4 individual pieces, this isn't going to be a very long cook. I reckon we're looking at around 3 to 4 hours for this one. So all I'm going to do for the first half an hour is just focus on fire management. In a drum, it is super easy. And apart from that, I'm just going to let these beef rib lollipops smoke away. So we'll check back in once we're a bit further into this cook. All right, so our beef rib lollipops have been going for around an hour now. And all I want to do now is just give each one a flip just so they cook nice and even. And then we're going to let them go for around another hour before we come back to potentially wrap these up to get them nice and tender. All right, so our beef rib lollipops have been going for around 2 hours now. These are looking and smelling amazing. Just going to quickly check the internal, but I reckon these are ready to wrap up. And they are sitting right around 72-ish degrees Celsius, or what's that, around 162 Fahrenheit. So what we'll do now is I'll get a foil tray down and I'll transfer our beef rib lollipops into that. And then we'll sit our tray back in the smoker. And then I've got a good 250 ml of beef stock we're going to add to the tray. And then on top of each lollipop, I'm going to put a tablespoon worth of butter. Then I'm going to cover the tray in foil. And then we'll shut our lid. So now our boneless beef rib lollipops are wrapped up with some butter and stock. They're going to get really nice and tender now. And because they're only small pieces, they're not going to take long to get tender as well. So I reckon I'm going to leave them for around 45 to 60 minutes. And then I'll check on them for probe tenderness. All right, so our lollipops have been wrapped up for around an hour now. So we're just about 3 hours into this cook. I'll take that foil off. And wow, they are feeling soft. They are probing right around 96, 97 degrees Celsius, or around that 206 to 208 Fahrenheit. So what I'm going to do now is just put this tray aside, and then I'm going to bring each lollipop out and put it back on the grill just to get some colour back. And then I'll get a little tray down and fill that with my hookshot jalapeno and whiskey barbecue sauce. Then we'll shut our lid to let our barbecue sauce heat up, and we'll get some colour back on those lollipops. All right, now our barbecue sauce is heated through and we've got some colour back on our lollipops. I'm just going to place these on a cake rack over a tray just to help stop a little bit of mess. I'm just going to get them down like so, and then we are just going to baste over some of that barbecue sauce. I'll give them a flip and do the other side. All right, and they are looking awesome. So we'll shut our lid and let that sauce set for 5 minutes or so. All right, and after about 5 minutes, these are looking incredible. Seriously, have a look at that. I cannot wait to get stuck into these, so let's get them out and have a taste. Seriously, cannot wait for this. Oh, wow. Unbelievable. Look at that bite. Juicy, tender, full of flavour. Sweet, savoury. This absolutely has it all. Oh, so good. Well, there you have it. There's how to make boneless beef rib lollipops. You can follow along to this cooking method and recipe and use pork belly or any other sort of beef cuts. And just to recap, we started with a rack of beef ribs. We trimmed them, we took the bones out, we rolled them, put these skewers in, sliced them into 4 different pieces, smoked them for a couple of hours until we were happy with the colour. Then we got them into a tray with some butter and beef stock until they were nice and tender. And then we finished them off with a beautiful glaze of my hookshot barbecue sauce. I'll put all the steps down in the video description for you. But for now, that's the end of the video. So if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.